Hello and welcome to Retirement Today. My name is Jenna Cairns, founder and financial advisor at Beacon Wealth Advisory. And we're here to help get you to and through retirement with financial peace of mind. If you'd like to listen to this show or listen to some of our past shows, you can go out to Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube. And before we talk about a very important legacy planning topic today, I want to bring back my friend Tony Shore. Tony Shore, we're doing the show again together. I'm so excited.
That's awesome, Jenna. It's great to be back. I haven't been on the show with you for a while. Jacqueline took over, and you and Jacqueline had a great chemistry. Those are going to be some big shoes to fill. But I'm glad to be back here with you on the show. It's been a while since you and
Mhm.
I have done a show together.
Yep,
Um, had your husband on last week, and
I
he
know.
was great, Medicare specialist, and
Oh,
very knowledgeable.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he'll be back on probably later towards Medicare season, and now he's doing the health insurance for people under 65 too. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have him on the team. You know, Tony,
Yeah.
we work together and we're still married. So I think we're doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, my you're doing better than I'll tell you what, my wife and I, we've been married 33 years, love each other very much. Everything's always
Yes.
been great, but we do have a standing rule, that we will never work together.
Yes,
So,
yes, I
um,
understand.
yeah, and Nikki Foley, who,
Yes.
she at one time, my wife, this is years ago when I first started here, my wife, had to leave her job. They downsized, and
Oh,
Nikki said, "Hey, we have a position here. I think she'd be great for." And I went home and told Sarah, and Sarah and I looked at each other and said, "Yeah, no." Yeah,
that's
that was
funny.
nice of Nikki to offer, but I'll tell you,
Yes.
but Sarah's in a great position now. So,
Good.
how's family? Are your kids back to school?
Yes, they went back to school last week.
Wow.
So yeah, we've got the twins in the same class for the first time ever in first grade.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
and then we've got Nellie Pearl, the oldest, in third grade, and we send them to a school called Kansas City Christian School. Just the most wonderful school, and we just love all
Awesome.
the people that go there. And
That's awesome.
so, but the first day dropping them off is always a little emotional. You know how that goes.
I remember that. I have 3 kids of my own. Of course, now they're all out of, high school and college. They're
Yeah.
done with
Wow.
schooling altogether. So, but
Wow.
I remember those days,
Yeah.
get first day of school, we get the pictures, we
Yes.
always take a picture outside with they had their little lunch boxes or whatever,
Yep.
and, dropping them off, it's tough, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first day, especially the first day of first grade, that's a big one,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
kindergarten was the hardest, but
Yeah.
first grade was also a little bit like, "Whoa, they're not, like, little anymore," I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
but anyway, I mean, we're very happy that they're at a good school, and,
Good.
I did get one note from a teacher from one of them that one of
Uh-oh.
them was being a little silly, so we had
Oh.
to have a little talk, so hopefully, we'll get back in our groove, right?
Well, first grade that's the time to be silly, Jenna.
Yeah, I agree, I
That's kind of a
agree.
given. Well,
Yep.
hey, the topic, we're gonna jump into it because, I know you like to talk about protecting your family, your future, everything you've worked so hard for, and I think this episode is one that's going to hit close to home for so many families, speaking of family out there.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, legacy planning is a lot more than just passing down assets. It's really passing on clarity, and it's giving your family direction during really one of the hardest times in their lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think having your legacy plan set up is just one of the most beautiful acts of service that you can give your family, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. You don't wanna leave your loved ones in a bad situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yep.
wanna have everything taken care of and planned out. I
Yep.
think it's so important.
Yeah, I really do too. I'll tell you the reason I'm doing this show is I've had some clients recently bring up the fact that they really want to kind of close that last loop of legacy planning and pre-plan their funeral.
Ah,
And, when I say we do holistic planning here, Tony, obviously we do the investments and we do the protection and the Medicare and
sure.
help people reduce taxes. But what people don't know is we also are able to help people pre-plan their funeral and make sure they have funds earmarked and protected for that. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this show. And I had a client recently, her name was Linda, who lost her husband, unfortunately, unexpectedly. And she told me, Jenna, I didn't know what funeral homes to call. I didn't know what
Mm.
songs he wanted.
Oh,
I didn't know if he wanted cremation or burial. And this is my husband.
wow.
And in her grief, she had to make 42 decisions in the first 48 hours of him passing away.
42 decisions within 2 days. That's
Mhm.
gotta be overwhelming, and on top of it, during an emotional time.
It really is totally overwhelming. And that's exactly why I think pre planning really matters. And so when families don't have a plan, they're forced to make emotional decisions under pressure. And often they overspend by thousands. I mean, I think one of the greatest therapies out there, Tony, is shopping therapy. So, if you're sad, what are
Sure.
you going to do? Go out and spend money on things that you probably don't really need. And this is kind of a different kind of grief when you have someone that close to you pass away. And so it's hard to make probably the greatest decisions during that time.
Right. Plus, when you pre-plan something and prepay for burial or cremation and your funeral, I think there are ways to save money rather than wait until last minute or after you're passed, leave it up to your family. And then it's probably going to cost them more because
Yep.
they're just going to go with whatever, they're just going to randomly,
Yep.
pick things and, oh, he would have wanted a nicer thing than this, or he would have, we have to go
Yep.
all out. So you don't know. So,
Yep.
um, now you mentioned, it's in the title of today's show, and it piqued my curiosity because, as you know, I've done a lot of financial shows over the years. I've done a lot of shows with you, and this is a term I'm not that funeral trusts. You mentioned
Mhm.
funeral trusts, in specific Kansas funeral trust,
Mhm.
because that's
Mhm.
that's where we're at. So, what are they, and why do they matter? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, a funeral trust is especially an irrevocable one. It's a legal protected way to set aside funds specifically for funeral and burial expenses. And these trusts are, like I said, irrevocable. They're sheltered from Medicaid spend down rules and they're guaranteed to be used only for funeral costs. So, Tony, sometimes people will say, well, I've got 20, 30,000 in my bank account. So that's kind of earmarked for my funeral. But what they don't know is, if they're in a nursing home or something, the funeral can, or the nursing home can really access that money and it can put your family in a bind if you don't have any
Yeah.
life insurance or something to have to pay for your funeral.
Yep.
But if you put the money from the bank account into a funeral trust, an irrevocable one, it is protected from the Medicaid spend down rules and from a nursing home being able to count that as part of the Medicaid eligibility. And it does not count as long as it's set up properly, it does not count towards the 5-year look back period. So some
Yeah.
of my clients, if they think, like I was just talking to one client who thinks that his mom is now in a nursing home and they're going to probably run out of money within the next couple years.
Yeah.
So we talked about actually sheltering some of that money into the funeral trust. And he said, well, doesn't that 5-year look back period apply? And I said, no, you can check with the elder law attorney, but up to a certain cap, and every state's different on what that cap is. It is sheltered from
Wow.
Medicaid being able to count that as an asset.
Yeah, because
So
Medicaid will go back and take any money.
yes, yeah, they will.
And that's, you gotta watch out. Now, is there a particular funeral trust that you like to use?
Yes, there is. It's with a company called National Guardian Life. And the reason I love that funeral trust too is they have a service tied to it with Legacy Safeguard that when our clients call in and they need to get money, let's say, or the beneficiaries need to get the money for our clients that have passed away, there's a whole planning service that comes with this funeral trust. So we actually have our clients put together their slideshow for their kids. We have them write out, exactly, who they want to do their funeral,
Hmm.
who they want to sing at their funeral.
What music, things like
Yeah,
that?
what music.
Yeah.
We have them, write their obituary, which that has been a very interesting exercise for some of our clients.
That's an interesting one. Never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just so many different things, what flowers do you want at the funeral?
Sure.
Do you want to have it at a church? Do you want to have it like outside in nature? Where do all these little details. And so it is just the most loving thing for
That's great.
beneficiaries to be able to call in, know that that money is protected and that they can use it and get at it very quickly to pay the funeral expenses. But then it also makes that process easier. They even have, believe it or not, Tony, discounts on grief counselors and discounts on flowers. And so it's just like, it's not only pre-planning everything for them, but just a very loving service
Yeah, and saving the
with
money in the
that.
long run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So I
think
really
that's
like it.
Yeah, that's great. And what you were talking about earlier with the rules there in Kansas and this a funeral trust, I love the fact that that money isn't accessible for the state to come and get to pay back for long-term care. So,
Mhm.
for families worried about long-term care planning, this is huge, isn't it?
It
Setting up a
is.
funeral
It really
trust.
is.
It's
Yeah.
good.
You definitely want to check with your financial advisor or someone like myself that knows about these and possibly an elder law attorney. Because, like I said, in each state, the cap as to how much you can put in that isn't counted towards Medicaid eligibility is different. So, like, a lot of states have like an $11,000 or $12,000 cap. So if you put in 15,000, whatever's over the 11,000 would get counted towards Medicaid, but anything
Sure.
under that cap would be sheltered from that, which is really
See,
neat.
that's great, and that helps with
Yeah.
the funeral costs, and that is fantastic. Now, you have actually a story along these lines, that you've shared, but, share it with our listeners because it really stuck with me.
Yeah, it does. It gets me every time, Tony. A family came to me after their father passed. He didn't have a funeral plan, no trust, no instructions, nothing. His 3 adult children sat in the funeral home, each with a different idea, of course, of what dad would have wanted. One wanted cremation, one wanted burial, and one wanted a military service. So, in their time of grieving, they argued, they cried, they felt guilty. And in the end, they spent $11,000 more than they needed to because grief makes decisions heavier.
Yeah. Well, and that's heartbreaking, but
It is.
what it's heartbreaking, that situation, that you saw play out, but what's even, worse is that it was avoidable, right?
Yes, totally avoidable. A funeral trust, especially if they had written everything out that they wanted, would have given the family clarity, direction, and peace,
Mm.
which I think is just so important in that hard, hard time of life.
Yeah, and I can see why this is something you talk about with your clients, and
Yeah.
you can help your clients with, and have helped them with, is this type of planning, having a strategy for your legacy, for your
Mhm.
estate, working alongside estate planning attorneys, and getting that funeral trust set up. That's so important. Um, let's compare that with let's balance that with a story of where pre-planning worked and what that can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So a woman named Carol pre-planned everything, her music, her flowers, her pastor, even the color of her casket, Tony.
Hmm. Wow.
She funded a Kansas funeral trust years before she passed. And when she died, her daughter told me, Jenna, I didn't have to make hardly a single decision.
Mm.
I just got to be her daughter
Oh,
and appreciate her legacy. And the funeral home director said it was one of the smoothest, most peaceful experiences he'd ever seen. And financially, every expense was covered. Not $1 came out of the family's pocket.
Yeah. That's the gift of pre-planning right there. That's why it's so important. It's love in a financial form, and it's really peace of mind that you're giving to your family. I think that's really, really important. And, we mentioned a Kansas funeral trust. There are some statistics that residents of Kansas should know about and that really matter here, right?
Right, right. According to AARP, the average funeral in Kansas is $8 to $12,000.
Mm,
That's just for like a traditional,
yeah.
funeral. 72% of families say they felt financially stressed planning the funeral. 1 in 3 families overspent by $3,000 or more when decisions were made emotionally.
Mhm.
And Kansas Medicaid spend down rules make funeral trust one of the most effective protection tools available because,
Yeah.
again, it does protect some of that money from the nursing home or Medicaid being able to access to keep it in the family.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and not every state offers that too, we should add.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
that's a benefit, and, the fact that you don't have to the five-year look-back rule doesn't apply,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
even though there's a cap on it, at least some of that money, which would, with the stats you gave, would cover, the average funeral.
Yeah.
So, these numbers are powerful, and I think it's because they show why pre-planning these things and communicating beforehand it isn't optional, it's essential. I mean, while you're
Yeah.
alive, while you're healthy, do it, and don't wait. A lot
Yep.
of people think they've got time, and you don't. It's never too early, and it's never too late. You gotta get it done, right?
Yeah, yeah, we never know when our last day is, do we, Tony? We
Yeah,
really don't.
that's true. No one
You
knows the
know?
day or time, right?
No, nope, we don't know. So when you pre-plan, you're deciding things like burial or cremation, funeral homes, service details, music, flowers, speakers, cemetery plots or urns, budget, and all the funding through a Kansas funeral trust. So it's really not morbid, it's responsible. It's like a very, the last experience that people have with your life is the funeral, really, and it's where we celebrate, everything that you did on this earth.
Yeah.
So it's just that one last loving thing you can do for your family, and it's very responsible. It's one of the most meaningful gifts you can leave behind, in my opinion.
Wow. Well put. And I think, people put it out. They're like, people might be, I don't want to, why are they talking about this today? Or I don't like to think about this.
Yeah,
Or
I
I'll
know.
deal with it later. That's human nature.
It is,
But
yeah,
really, the greatest gift you can give your loved ones and yourself is to get this taken care of. And once it's taken care of, you can all sleep well at night and you don't have to dwell on it. So
yeah,
just get it done, pre-plan. And Jenna, you've helped so many people do this. I think that's key, and I think this has been an extremely heartfelt episode. Jenna, I know you have a passion for it and your clients. And legacy planning isn't just about wealth. It's
yeah.
it's about easing that burden on the people you love, right?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And we'd love to have the opportunity to sit down with anyone that's listening today saying, maybe I got my trust done. Maybe I got my will done. Maybe I've even communicated that part of my legacy, but I've never really communicated what I want to have done with my funeral. And I don't have any money really protected to for sure go to that. If you would like to explore a funeral trust and see if it's something that would be a good fit for you and help pre-plan that funeral, that kind of last piece of the legacy planning, you can reach out to us to schedule a complimentary consultation at 1-800-994-8993. Again, that's 1-800-994-8993.
All right. Well, Jenna, great show as always today. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Retirement Today with our host, Jenna Cairns.